Dante's Boxing Nation, what's going on, guys? So, yep, we got it. Danny Garcia versus Lucas Matthysse. A match made in heaven on a card that's made in heaven, right? I don't care what nobody say. This is up to this day the greatest card ever put together, since I've been living on this earth, right? And, we got to congratulate Golden Boy. We have to congratulate, boxing in its entirety, because boxing and Golden Boy, at least, they're finally getting it right. They're finally getting it right. Finally starting to give us fans our money's worth, right? Time after time, we have to deal with having one great card on a pay-per-view, and you got to sleep through most of the undercard fights. You having a fight party, and no one's even paying attention to the undercard fights. Everybody running around, hanging outside in the backyard, and, peeking in to see when the main event starts. That won't be the case in this situation, okay? Because now we have a real main event and a real co-main event to back it up. See, this is something that the UFC, they've been successful doing this, since day one. They've always been successful with having a main event and a co-main event that is just as big as the main event, right? We never did that in boxing, and the reason why is because you got too many motherfuckers sticking their hand in the cookie jar. What that means is you got too many motherfuckers, who are out for themselves, looking for their own individual gain to make money, right? The reason why Dana White over there at the UFC, the reason why he's able to put together these great cards, for the UFC fans all in one, and put on free fucking shows on TV. That's not pay-per-view. He can do this because Dana White, he holds all of the cards, okay? He holds all of the cards, right? All roads lead to Dana White in the UFC. Because, see, in boxing, you have the promoter, you have the manager, you have the network, you have the financial advisor, you have all of these different people that are sticking their hand in the cookie jar and spreading out all the money. But when it comes to Dana White, he is the promoter. He is the manager. He is the advisor. Okay? He's all of them things. So he's getting all the money. And then on top of that, Dana White is only paying the top fighters like at a maximum like $200,000, $400,000 a fight. Right? That's how much they get paid. That's how much. And Anderson Silva in his last fight, he got paid, I believe it was $400,000 or $500,000. Okay? And we already know that Floyd Mayweather is making $45 million a fight. Right? So Dana White, he's keeping all of the money. This is the reason why he's able to put on these lavish cards, because he has all the money. He don't have to spread the money. He don't have to share the money with the promoters, the managers, and every other person. Right? So the reason why I'm talking about this is because this is the reason why it's so hard for boxing promoters and et cetera, to put together a card like this. But Golden Boy, they managed to do it. And this is something that we need to start doing more often. We need to have, a strong backbone of a co-main event for every pay-per-view fight that, they put on. Right? This is gonna make history one way or another. Right? I don't know if it's gonna be the highest pay-per-view of all time, but this card is definitely gonna make history. All right. So with that all been out the way, let's go ahead and break this damn fight down. Okay? Now, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Danny Garcia first. Like I told you guys before on a couple videos, I've been really impressed with Danny Garcia. I think like a lot of people, Danny Garcia, he grew on me. I personally didn't really take him serious until I seen this performance against Kendall Holt. Because what's so funny is, we get so many undefeated prospects all the time, right? And I think when you see an undefeated record, it kind of hypnotizes a lot of people. You automatically start thinking this dude is a beast. Look at him, he's undefeated. He has to be good. Just because a lot of people see that, they automatically start, a lot of times they think that a person is really better than he is. I learned that a long time ago, because when I was a lot younger, I used to always watch, undefeated fighters on, ESPN or whatever the channel was, or I would read Ring magazines and they would show the new prospects, the new undefeated. Every time I seen an undefeated guy, I thought he was just a beast. I didn't think about who he fought. I didn't think about, the competition he faced. I didn't think about his amateur pedigree. I just seen an undefeated record, and I was like, oh man, you hear about this so-and-so new guy? Yeah, he's undefeated, right? This is how I used to think. And the thing is, it does that. It hypnotizes a lot of people. Even with Canelo Alvarez, I believe that, it hypnotizes a lot of Canelo Alvarez fans. You see that undefeated record, you say, well, he's never lost before, and that really baits you in to buying into the fact that this guy he's unbeatable. Okay, so the point I'm making with Danny Garcia is, because I don't do that anymore, now when I see an undefeated record, I'm like, shit, that don't mean nothing. That don't mean a damn thing. Okay, Malik Scott, the heavyweight, he was undefeated forever, right? And then he fucking fights against Derek Chisora and gets knocked out. So I don't take being undefeated serious. And what's his name, Danny Garcia, for a long time, even though he was undefeated, I didn't really take him serious until I seen him step up and fight Kendall Holt. And Kendall Holt is not really, an A-level fighter. But the thing is, I was comparing how Danny Garcia did against Kendall Holt as opposed to how everyone else did to him. Okay, he put a lot of damage, or he inflicted a lot of damage on Kendall Holt. He broke his jaw. He was hurting him constantly. It was a very, very impressive performance. Okay, then Danny fought against Eric Morales, and I was disappointed with Danny Garcia. And once again, I started to think, okay, I done, gave him too much props. He's not that good. Then he comes back in the rematch, and he looks like the Danny Garcia I was expecting in the first fight. All right, then we get the Amir Khan fight. He starts off slow. He knocks Amir Khan out. Then what really impressed me was the Zab Judah fight. Now, I know Zab Judah is not a world beater anymore, and quite frankly, he's always been inconsistent. But at the same time, I like a few things that Garcia did. When Garcia was fighting against Garcia was fighting against Judah, he was in there using his brain, and that's one of the main things that I look at: defense, using your intelligence and your brain and your wits, right? Like I said, in that post-fight, Danny Garcia, he took away Zab Judah's left hand. He took his left hand away, and he kept beating Zab Judah to the punch with his own right hand. All right? He showed a great defense. Zab couldn't land that left hand for almost 9 rounds. Okay, now when Zab did land it, he did some damage on Danny Garcia, which Garcia admitted. But Garcia, he did a really good job, taking away the left hand. So, any fighter who has intelligence like that can take away, a fighter's most important weapon is very, very dangerous and has a bright future, right? So, I just want to say a couple things about Danny Garcia. Now, let me talk about Lucas Matthysse, okay? Now, for a long time, just like Danny Garcia, a lot of people were sleeping on Matthysse. He slowly just crept up on all of us, and then all of a sudden he just pops up, like somebody scaring you out of a closet, like a beast. He just came out of nowhere with it. Now, for those of you guys who don't know, on my old channel, Dante562, I did a 5-part series of a list of fighters that I thought had the potential to possibly be future pound-for-pound champions in the top 10, top 5, etc. I think that Lucas Matthysse was my number 7 pick. So, I've been pretty high on Lucas Matthysse. What's so impressive about Matthysse is his power, aggression, mixed with his intelligence. You see, because if it was just power alone, he wouldn't be special and he wouldn't be as successful as he has been today. It's his intelligence. It's his intelligence and his defense that makes him so successful when he fights. All right, and a lot of people don't really pay attention to it. You know, a lot of people they look at Matthysse as a brawler. He is not a brawler. He has a great defense, and he comes in with that turtle shell like a Ike Corte or a Winky Wright, and it seems like almost every time you throw in punches, it's just bouncing off of his gloves, right? His timing is great. You know, he'll get in there with that turtle defense, and as soon as you throw a punch, he'll time you perfect, and he'll come out with a right hand, a left hook. He knows how to counter. You know, he has a great pull counter which is the side right hand. Move to the side, slip the jab, come over top with the right hand. He does that like a slick boxer. Okay, so this is the reason why I really like Lucas Matthysse. So now we need to talk about the little flaws that Matthysse has. All right, now we already know that Matthysse has 2 controversial defeats against Devin Alexander and Zab Judah. Now, a lot of people believe that Matthysse was robbed against both of these fighters. Let's just go with that and say he was definitely robbed against both fighters. The problem is, even if Matthysse was robbed against both of these fighters, if you're playing devil's advocate, you have to say to yourself, but why did Matthysse lose so many rounds? Even if you thought he won, you have to ask yourself, why did he lose so many rounds against these fighters? And why is it these are the only fighters that Matthysse lost so many rounds? You know? I mean, even if you want to say, oh, I think Matthysse won, I think he beat Devin Alexander 7 rounds to 5. Right? I think he beat Zab Judah 7 rounds to 5. Or whatever the case may be. You have to ask yourself, why did he lose 5 rounds? And why did he lose them decisively against these fighters? And I have an answer for that. The reason why is the same reason Adrian Broner had a problem with Paulie Malignaggi. Is because the majority of fighters, they struggle when they fight against fighters with movement, with slickness, with head movement, and ring generalship. Those type of opponents are the hardest type of opponents to defeat. All right? They are the hardest type of opponents to defeat. And I personally feel that in this situation with Danny Garcia is intelligent. Danny Garcia is not a big mover, but like I was telling you how he took away Zab Judah's left hand, that shows intelligence to me. That shows that he can be slick. He doesn't get hit that often, you know, and I think he's going to be using his brain in there as far as Danny Garcia. I think Danny Garcia is going to be able to take away some of Mathisse's most dangerous weapons. You know, that left hook, that overhand right that he throws, the pressure that he brings. You know, I really don't think that Matthysse has faced a guy who hits just as hard as he does. I think Danny Garcia does. Even if it's just a little less, I think Danny Garcia hits pretty much just as hard as Matthysse punches. So I think it's a very good chance that Danny Garcia can actually expose Lucas Matthysse and make him look somewhat of a flat-footed fighter, right? But don't get me wrong. This is a very difficult prediction because Lucas Matthysse is dangerous in every fraction of a second in the fight. He's going to be dangerous. His power is unbelievable. You know, I say Danny Garcia, he hits probably almost as good as Matthysse, but every single punch Matthysse is going to be throwing is going to be a bomb to completely take your head off. He didn't really have a whole lot of setup punches, right? So it's a tough prediction because he's dangerous. But realistically, it's kind of hard to predict that the knockout artist will win by knockout. Because as competition gets better, you'll notice in history, even knockout artists, as competition gets better, you start to see less knockouts because you're in more of a chess match. So I'm running out of time right now, guys, but my prediction for this is going to be Danny Garcia wins this fight. Unanimous decision, maybe even a late round stoppage.